Hello friends, it's Natasha Koo here from Intolign and welcome to another heartfelt conversation with me. Alright, so everyone growing up probably had at least one favorite teacher. The teacher who really impactfully changed your life, impacted you, inspired you, and I actually definitely have that person in my life. And I was lucky enough to actually meet this wonderful math teacher in high school. I was in Mr. Devita's class for 2 full years from I think, oh, was it just, yeah, from grade 10 to grade 11, I think. 2 years in high school, and he completely changed, I would say, my future and the decisions that I would make into far into my life. And I have to say that he's one of the reasons why that I have chosen my career, my love life, the way that I have, and he was a true inspiration to me. So I want to share with you today the story of Mr. Devita and just the wonderful wisdom that he was able to pass on to me. So he's my favorite teacher ever. So to give you an idea of who Mr. Devita was, he was kind of short, kind of plump, an Italian math teacher. But math wasn't his only passion. He loved music. He would sing opera on his way to work and write music in his car. And because I was in the international baccalaureate program, he actually drove by multiple schools, high schools where he could have taught at, but he chose my school because we were just a bunch of students who actually cared about our grades. We actually cared about learning, and we actually wanted to get a better education. That probably insulted a bunch of Canadians, but a lot of teachers in my high school chose my particular high school because of the program, because of the people who studied, this kind of advanced education. Aside from his just really bubbly, hilarious sense of humor and wonderful personality, he was one of those teachers that genuinely brought joy and fun and his personality to every single lecture and every single class. So even though we did learn a lot of math, we also had so much fun, and he did not shy away from bringing his personality or just bringing jokes, silly jokes, and all sorts of techniques that are just a part of him, right? And that made being in his presence, being in his leadership, so wonderful. At the same time, he would not only teach us math, he would teach us lots of life lessons and tons of pointless, funny stories. But there was one story or metaphor that he repeated to us which touched me so deeply that I would never ever forget. And it's this story that ultimately made everything in my life make sense, and then helped me to choose a path that is right for me and that makes me feel like I never ever want to compromise my happiness. So Mr. Devita talked about how most people would wake up in the morning, slam the alarm, and go, oh my gosh, time to go to work, right? They wake up dreading going to work that they do not enjoy, do not like. They drive in traffic, dreading their work day ahead. They get to work, they sit down, and they're staring at the clock, waiting for the work day to end. So it's nearing 5 p.m. and that person is so excited to leave at this point. So once it hits 5, he's like, oh, thank God, I'm gonna go home now. This dreaded work is over. So then this person starts driving home in traffic, and he's starting to dread his wife or his partner, and he's not looking forward to going home. He's driving home, he's at a dinner table that evening, not enjoying, his family life, And then he's going to bed, and then the next day begins. He starts to dread, his work and his family and his partner all over again. And they keep repeating this over and over and over and over again. And the point of Mr. Devita's story, this particular story, is that most people choose work that they do not like, and they choose a partner who they do not love. And if you do not look forward to these two things in your life, then what are you really looking forward to? I know there's a lot more to life than work and family to look forward to, but there's such a big part of your life. When you come home, that huge chunk of your evening, that night, it's going to be shared with those people who share a home with you. And the same thing with a job. If you're going to work a 9 to 5, well, all those hours, why spend it in a job, at a workplace, in a position which you do not enjoy? Because you're going to wake up dreading work, you're going to drive to work dreading work, you're going to spend the whole day dreading work. And if you do not choose someone who you actually love, you're going to dread going home to that person and dread being with that person the rest of the time that you're awake and not at work, which you also dread, right? So this story or this metaphor really touched me extremely deeply, because it is actually the reality of so many people. I grew up with parents who definitely did not love each other. They might have been care just because of the experiences and the time that they spent together, but there was no true love. Yeah. And the same thing as for work. So many people around me are only doing work for a livelihood, and it is not something that they enjoy at all. And so after hearing Mr. Devita's story and what he said to us in that class, I just dreaded. I didn't want to have that life. I did not want to choose what he just described to us. And I made a pact with myself that moment that I'm never gonna marry someone who I don't love, and I'm not going to settle for a job that I don't like, because I know that I will end up just like this, exactly like how he described. So it is because of this story that truly helped me to realize that I don't have to settle for less. And if I do sway away from what my true desires are, I am going to suffer. I am going to settle for less, and it's not going to be a life that truly fulfills me, because it isn't for me, right? So this is a huge influence of my life, and I'm forever grateful for Mr. Devita. He's one of those people that even when I was having a really tough day at school, which you have at high school as a young adult, he was able to help me feel that someone cares, and I felt like a human being in his class versus just little numbers that a teacher had to just kind of lecture towards. And I really felt like I mattered, and that he cared for every one of us, and that we were human beings in his eyes, and not just little puppets, numbers in the room. So anyways, I'd love to know who has influenced you in your life growing up. It could be a teacher. Maybe you were also lucky enough to have a teacher like Mr. Devita in your life, or maybe it's I don't know, a friend, a neighbor, some kind of mentor that helped you put things into perspective and helped you to shape your life and your future for the better. Because for me, it was Mr. Devita. And I have to say that, as much as I was influenced by him, it's the resonance of truth of the story that he told and the truth within me and them clashing together that made the biggest difference. Because, like anyone, you can tell them your wisdom, you can share what makes sense to you, but if it doesn't resonate with them, or they're unwilling to hear it, or part of them is not open to accepting it, then it still won't catch on, if that makes sense. So his story ultimately resonated with something within me. It resonated with me seeing my parents being unhappy with one another, it resonated with me, and seeing how so many adults did not enjoy their work whatsoever, and it resonated with the part of me that wanted to take action, that wanted to become powerful, and who wanted to, you know, take my life into my own hands and not let that happen to me, right? To take control of my life and to make actual decisions that I want for me. So anyways, if this resonates with you too, then great, because you're open to hearing it and it resonates with a certain truth in you too. So let me know in the comments. Let's start this conversation, and I'll talk to you all soon. Bye.